Hey everyone, welcome to FMATalk Martial Chronicles. I'm one of your co-hosts, Datu Tim, and this is
PG Tye's here.
And PG Tye. So we have a guest today, but before we get into some things, I actually updated some stuff. I'm actually watching one of my kids earlier late without their parents. So we got a few announcements to make. We have new sponsors. Vulpus Blades and the Modern East University. But this weekend was the 20th anniversary of Professor's passing. And I want to play a little something for the time being. I'm also going to be stepping away from the camera for a moment because I need to make sure that one of my kids are safely picked up. But let me look real quick here before I start this. And okay. So we are all good. Mom picked up the child, which is excellent. You know, I get that Papa Bear mindset in here. Got a new rig here, so hopefully that's going to interfere less with the show. But every time I do this, I have to do an adjustment. And now we're having an earthquake here. Earthquake. So, like I said, how's the sound? Can you hear me?
I think it's good.
Okay. So I'm going to move my new microphone stand so we don't have that incident where it falls on my lap again. Who do we have on board today? Master Parsons. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, Rich.
Okay. All right. So, as I said before, this weekend marked the 20th. Saturday was the 20th anniversary of Professor passing, and we did a memorial camp. But what I also did is put a little video montage. I actually expanded this since the one I put up there. So everyone likes this. And let's give this a shot. Okay, it's still hard to watch. I put that together this weekend. I'm going to be putting that on the internet in other places. This is an extended version, not too much. Put a few more photos on there, but what I'll probably do is, if anyone wants a copy of it, just let me know. I'll probably be putting a link on Vimeo where it's free, downloadable, free of charge. Also, I'm going to do something with put it on YouTube as well. But like I said, before we bring our guest on, I just want to talk about the weekend. We had a few challenges. We had 8 people MIA due to COVID-related situations. We had the Canadian contingent couldn't make it down, but that being said, between physical and virtual, we still had right around 40 people attending the event, which, I'm very pleased. I was able to put money in all the instructors' pockets, which was a big concern for me because I wanted to make sure that if they were traveling from all over different places, that at least I could cover their expenses. And it was funny when you and Chad and Rich, I said, well, you guys are getting paid this amount of money, and the three of you in chorus together were getting paid. But, I really, it was a success. It's not what I wanted to do, like I said, because of COVID. None of us are happy because of what's going on. but we also have new family members in the WMAA with Mike and May Williams. They got home safe. They actually messaged me today. Thanks for inviting them. They did a phenomenal job. And Mike, man, talk about showing how to take Professor's stuff to the next level. You know, that double stick progression he did with a variation of the Singleton Wally application drill we used to do, and doing more with it. But
Oh, you're gone mute, or I can't hear you.
Am I muted? Hello.
Now I can hear you.
I think that may have been you. Did anyone else hear me speak? Did anyone not hear me speak? Facebook user, what's up? Very nice, good memories. Yep. And Lisa loves her payday. Yeah, I was gonna
right.
that. Tim went on mute. Oh, I don't know. Hold on, let me.
No, I can hear you now, so hopefully you're fine.
How's that? So anyway, well, I'll say it again. So yeah, new setup. So I may have bumped something, and there's some minor things. Mike Williams did a really good job taking Rennie's drills and really taking it to the next level. You know, with the theme. You know, I understand there's definitely the historian point of view of things, and you'll have those members in the group, and that's fine. I've got nothing against that. But Modern Arnis was an ever-growing art, as a living, breathing thing, and Professor constantly did innovations in it. And you know, I try to make a point of when I do my evolution of my own that it's in the theme of what Remy would done. And man, did Mike nail that. And what I'm looking forward to is next year, and hello, Maria, because next year is the 65th anniversary of the creation of Modern Arnis. And in that theme, let's do this. So next May 20th to 22nd will be the 65th anniversary camp. I think I've assembled a top-notch staff of instructors, and I'm looking forward to doing this better. Hopefully, by then, COVID will be in our rearview mirrors or much better under control, and there'll be less issues going on. Like, you know, right now, Canadians aren't really allowed to. They're not allowed to come across the border by land. They can fly, and there's hoops they got to jump through. But you know, it is what it is. Any comments about the camp, my friend?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was actually a lot of good energy, a lot of good focus. The way we did the timing was really good as far as keeping people going too. Also have an announcement. So you remember, of course, but I think it's worth mentioning that so girl Mike and his wife May, of course, were there, and he, I believe, got his La Canisa around 1993, 94, and had been exploring and teaching and training ever since. And so you could really tell that in his moves. And then so the WMA, of course, saw that, and I think unanimously we recognized him for third right now. Correct?
Yes, he is now a third-degree black belt, Lacan Tatlo in Modern Arnis. Yeah, I mean, you know, when you get someone in the 90s that hasn't gone up, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You know, when they've been continuing to train. That's like when Rick Manglenon came on board, when he first was there, he's walking around with a 2nd degree black belt, outperforming all the 3rds, 4ths, and 5ths. It's like, come on, you got to do something about that. He fought it because he didn't know. He was modest about the whole thing. I'm like, it's like, come on, really? So, all right. So we've talked enough. Let's talk about what's going on. The theme is Connecticut Modern Arnis, or Modern Arnis in Connecticut, and we have a guest instructor, Guro Frank Shekosky, who is also a classmate of PG Tye. It looks like it's the mystery guy in the back there. You are completely blacked out, my friend.
Because a little bit dark.
Dark
behind you so much.
The light needs to be in front of you, not behind you. So
I'll be right back.
Okay. So, anyways, we have a mystery guest. It's such a mystery we don't even know when he's going to get here. But so what we're going to do is while we have the lighting worked out, I think it's already worked out. We're going to be Guro Frank is has ran a school in Cromwell, Connecticut. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how he got involved and his journey and some accomplishments and stuff. Also, I have put already contact information, actually, for all 3 of us. PG Tye, after the show, look at the YouTube to see what you think. I know I'm going to need some more things, and I need to get one of those Facebook linking things, the UGRL or whatever it is, because you can't get to Facebook if you're not there's a special way to get a link for people to see Facebook who are not on Facebook.
Okay.
So, and down below we have right now flowing here is Guro Frank's contact information. You can call or text him, and then there's CromwellMartialArts.com. But with no further ado, okay, so who we got? Whoopie wee sensei, clutching feathers. Well, that's a Kenpo technique.
Yeah, that's his nickname.
Okay.
Night child. And it's clutching feathers. Okay, all right. So hair grab. Does he have hair?
No.
Okay, that's
Now you got it.
Very punny, if I might say. So how you doing tonight, Frank?
I'm doing great, thanks. I'm so happy to be here and to talk to you guys and maybe share some stories.
Yeah, and it's funny because all 3 of us are connected. Yeah. So I mean, a good friend of mine, Eric Alexander, taught both of you guys.
Yeah,
that's right.
And well, let's just like I said, there's a whole bunch of things we've done so far. And so today, let's get into this. I'm hoping, definitely let me know about the sound. Like I said, I'm with this new microphone stand and lighting. Hopefully everything's going to work out well, but this is the first run of that. But so Frank, when did you start Modern Arnis?
So I'm going to do my best here to piece together all the dates and everything. Eric can help correct me if he's on your show. He can help correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was in around 1988. I was actually in Kenpo at that time, and I was roughly, I think, about a green belt, maybe a blue belt, intermediate level in Kenpo. And I was already training with Eric at that point in time. And one day he comes up on his motorcycle and he has a backpack with these handle-looking things sticking out. I thought they were tennis rackets. Like, oh, I didn't know you played tennis. He goes, no, these are sticks. And he pulled them out and showed me. And honestly, like, I had not much interest. There were a couple of pair of sticks. I'm like, okay, But the more he talked about them, I said, well, if this guy really thinks so much about the sticks, there's got to be something to it. So I'd already been taking lessons with him for Kenpo. So then I decided to try to take lessons with him for Arnis as well. And I'd say within about 3 or 4 lessons, I really got hooked. At first, it felt so alien, like these weapons in my hand. I definitely was not feeling one with the weapon. It took a lot of hours of quality training. I was going to some camps and seminars, but that's how I got started. Basically, I never heard of Arnis before, but Eric's the one that had first told me about it.
Okay.
So that would have been around what year again?
I think that's around 1988.
Awesome.
Now, if I recall right, you actually met Eric in a gym, right? Working out?
Can't believe you knew that. Yeah. I didn't know he was in karate. little did I know at the time, he was trying to beat me at the bench press. We would spot each other. And I knew there's something different about him. The way he breathed, like there was something different about him, but I didn't know he was in martial arts. And then one day I decided to join a school down the road, and then lo and behold, Eric walks in a black belt. And, you know, when I was taking karate already, I mean, I enjoyed it well enough, and I might have stuck around a little while, but I don't think it was going to be like a lifelong pursuit. But the first time I watched Eric teach a class, he was different than all the other instructors. And a little voice in my head literally said, if you want to be good, follow that man. And that's what I did. I started taking private lessons with him. And I think it was for about a 5-year period, just lots of sparring, lots of training, and 5 great years of my life.
Well, Eric definitely was top notch. No question about that.
Yeah, he was. Have either of you ever had a chance to spar him at all?
I haven't. I met him, and then when he moved out, we saw each other on the circuit, and then he had reached out for me to come out to your area.
Yeah.
And I want to say that was 91. Well, actually, no, 91, 92. Yeah, it was 2 because I was teaching in Powerhouse Gym. So I think I taught from 90 to 92 or 91 and 92.
Yeah, well, I think he moved out west in 92. So it was definitely then or sooner.
Yeah. So,
but sparring him was an amazing experience. A little bit like stick sparring Professor. And definitely empty hand sparring Eric. It was really just like an adrenaline rush, you know, and I missed those days. And he was just amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said you were in Kenpo. What branch of Kenpo?
It started out as Shaolin Kenpo, and then the school I was with broke away and got more into the American Kenpo. So I now teach both because I like a lot of the forms in the Shaolin Kenpo, but I love a lot of the self-defense in the American Kenpo. The way that I learned a lot of the Shaolin Kenpo was mostly off a right-hand punch. What I love about the American Kenpo is they had most everything you can think of, you know, for attacks and defenses.
Okay.
What lineage of American Kenpo? I mean, as far as the
for me, it was the Huck Planus.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, Paul Zanusky, who studied a lot through Huck Planus lineage.
Okay, all right. So were you direct through Huck or you second gen?
I worked more with Paul Zanusky. You know,
Okay.
I learned most of the stuff from him and his students.
Cool. Yeah, I've actually I've taught with Huck a bunch of times, so I like. He's one of my favorite Kenpo guys. Got a interesting sense of humor. You don't know how to take him at first, but and walking encyclopedia.
Yeah, you know, he's in the dojo day in and day out, I think, with Mr. Parker, and I think he really understands the blueprint of the art as well or better than anybody. Yeah. And I was probably second or third degree the first time I met him. And I came away feeling like a beginner again. Like he pointed out details in all my stuff, and I walked away just feeling like a beginner, and I loved it.
Definitely.
Yeah. He was just amazing. Yeah. But what I thought I'd like to get into a little bit, if you didn't mind, is maybe the lineage of how modernists got into Connecticut.
Well, yeah, we were definitely gonna ask about that. Let me see here. Well, actually, what I want to go back and see how far back we can go.
Oh, sure.
So you learned from Frank. I mean, from you are Frank. You learned from Eric.
I started to learn from Eric until he left in, I think, around 1992.
Were you a black belt at the time that he left?
What's that?
Were you a black belt at the time that he left?
Oh, yes. I believe that I was.
Okay.
And then when he left, then I shifted directly with Professor since Eric was out in Colorado at that time.
Okay. All right. So, okay, good. Okay. Now, who did Eric get it from?
So he, to my knowledge, what happened is he first saw a demonstration in Kansas before he moved to Connecticut. And then I guess he was in Ohio, and Terry Bryant told him about modern Arnis. And when he actually came to Connecticut, he was going to a student of Lee Lowry's, Phil Antonucci. And I believe that was his first regular teacher in modern Arnis was Phil Antonucci.
Okay. So that was a Kenpo Arnis blend of sorts.
I don't think so. I think that it was its own program.
Well, I know. Well, how we met, and this is the reason why I'm asking this, is that when Eric brought me out, I was like, well, you've got all these people here. Why do you want me to come? And what he specifically said was the fact that everyone else was teaching a blended program, and he wanted to work on the Arnis exclusively. Right. So, like Richard Roy put as much Tai Chi as possible. Right. Others put Kenpo in. Others put Jiu-Jitsu in. And there's nothing wrong with that. When I say this, nothing wrong. But what he told me was that he wanted to learn it as untainted as possible, so that he could come up with his own synthesis of what he was going to doing. So, which is what gave me the impression that he may have been doing a blended program.
No, I wouldn't really describe it as a blend, but the main art of the school was Kenpo. And then he kind of had this little Arnis club that was kind of getting started, but it wasn't like a full-fledged curriculum. It wasn't, ranked, and, it wasn't a full-fledged curriculum yet. So I think he's just trying to grow it into more of a full-fledged program. It's a blend, but the main art of the school was Kenpo. And then he kind of had this little Arnis, wasn't a full-fledged curriculum yet. So I think he's just trying to grow it into more of a full-fledged.
There we go.
I got a loop there.
Yeah.
The windows up. Okay, so he was studying from a student of Lowry's.
Yes, Phil Antonucci. Lee Lowry was teaching the program, and then eventually Phil Antonucci took it over, the Arnis part of it.
Now, my question is, and Nathan's saying, we got to say hello to a few people. Hey, so Nathan's saying hello to you, Frank. I don't know if you can you see these notifications up here?
I can.
Okay. Then Andrew Goodwin, one of our guys. Hey, good evening, sir.
Hey, both of you guys.
Now he's going by his real name. I guess that's his YouTube name. And then here we go. Tim and Ty, I just wanted to thank you guys for a great event this weekend. A lot of I can't once again. Can you read that? Because Ty, because my camera right in front of my screen.
Great event this weekend. A lot of talent out there. I'm on the road right now, so I'll have to watch the rest later. Again, thanks so much, and I will see you at the next. Yeah, John was really good, really helpful, and really skilled himself. It was good to have him there.
Yeah. So when did Eric then work his way up to Lowry or go to Remy?
We had a little club within our own school, and we were working it there, and then we started going to the camps. So our first camp was a Holyoke camp. So Eric started working his way toward professor at that point.
Okay. And then,
wow.
There we go. Fast feet. Oh, that's Grandmaster
right.
Lanata. So this is Carlito Lanata's son, who is now the current Grandmaster of Lanata Kuntao, which I happen to be certified in. How you doing, sir? Looking forward to coming and visit once the border opens up. Need to work on my my Saiwan top or my Kuntao Sa. But after we get through all the modern stuff, I definitely want to bring more styles onto this, and that'd be great to have maybe Grandmaster Lanata as part of one of our shows. But anyways, getting back to it, when Eric was training in this one program and then worked on going full time, he tried to go direct with Professor. Now this was done with. I'm assuming this was done with blessings of everybody, and there's no.
Oh sure, yeah. Phil went on to do other things anyway. He was going to do some CLA and he involved himself in other things. So at that point he's kind of veered more into toward professor at that point.
Okay, all right. So that's cool about your lineage. Excellent. So now, because Ty and I were both wondering whom he started with, and Ty didn't want to make any comments. He had a few ideas, but we wanted to freshen that up and make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So, well, then let's get into it. How did Modern Arnis get into Connecticut?
Yeah, and this is what I love, because whenever I've talked to people, everybody had a little piece of the puzzle, but nobody I've ever talked to somebody able to give me like the whole lineage directly, finally, to me. So now I can present that to you. So Lee Lowry attended a seminar in Massachusetts, in Springfield, Massachusetts, at a YMCA there. It was put on by Wendy Dragonfire, and that was his first experience with the Modern Arnis meeting professor. Mm-hmm. At that point, he then brought a professor for his first seminar in Connecticut in 1982. And then it kind of started to grow from there.
Okay. So, and I know Wendy. I don't think we've ever met. I know she's living in the Netherlands right now. We talk once in a while. And Wendy, if you hear this or any of Wendy's students, love to have you on the show. So with the with that, so was Wendy the first person to bring Remy into Connecticut then, or Massachusetts?
That I don't know. I don't know beyond that. Okay. But I know that she's the one that organized the event, where Lee Lowry went to. And then in 1984, Lee Lowry and Professor Priest went out to San Francisco and did a demonstration there at a big tournament. And I guess that really helped to evolve things as well. And that's where Lee Lowry also met Wally J, and then brought Wally J into this area. So it all kind of started to happen right around that 1982, 83, 84 time period.
Okay. All right. So, were there any camps in? I know they're in Mass. Were there any camps in Connecticut?
Not that I'm aware of. I know Lee Lowry did the seminars, and then he started to back away, or not be as active. And that's when I brought in Professor, and I think it was 1992.
So I know Sifu Lee retired from martial arts. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he's down in North Carolina now.
So the question is, what's the timeline? Now, for those who don't know, if you ever saw the original videos, he's the man of color in the videos. The primary uke that Professor used in the videos there, and very talented. Probably the top guy at the moment, during the filming of those videos. When did he get out?
Well, I saw him at the camp in Holyoke when he was promoted to 6th degree. And I'm trying to think of what year that was. That must have been early 90s.
Really? Okay.
I think he became less active around that time period. And, I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know the facts, but I think it was around that time period, early 90s.
So early 90s was that like the last thing that happened, or?
That's the last that I saw him. He might have been in other places, but that's the last place I saw him.
Okay. And at that time, do you know if he still had the school going, or had he handed it over to someone already?
Oh, good question. He opened the school in 1976. He was one of the first people in this area to really have a school. And I know the school changed hands several times, or a few times. And then I think now there is no school.
Okay.
When did he hand it over? I'm not certain of that.
Okay. All right. So Modern Arnis somehow makes it to Massachusetts. Sifu Lowry goes to a seminar, attends it, brings it back to Connecticut, and that starts the population of Modern Arnis into Connecticut. Eric gets involved with that through one of Lowry's students. You get involved with Eric. Eric moves, and then you go directly with Professor?
Yes. Okay. That's how it happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you know what rank you were with? Okay, so for those who are not as familiar, if what I use the term is RPCs, Remy Praces Certified. To have a black belt in Modern Arnis while Remy was alive, you had to be promoted by him. No one had the authorization to promote people to black belt. So, so when you became, I see your diploma in the back. Is that your Remy diploma?
That's one of them. Yeah, I have.
Is that the first or the last?
That is the second to last.
Second to last. Okay. All right. So, what rank were you with Professor? What was the highest level that you attained with Professor Praces?
Third.
So Lacan Tatlo.
Yeah.
So did you start with Lacan by itself, and then Isa Delawa Tatlo?
My first camp I tested at was one of the Browns. So I don't remember which Brown. And then I must have been maybe first, and then I tested again for like third, and then from there I went to Lacan Isa. all like under professor, all under professor.
So you skipped Lacan.
At that point, there was no Lacan. I mean, it just went.
When was this?
The way I saw it, it went just Lacan and then Dalo and Tatlo.
No. When was your promotion?
Oh wow, I don't have that written down. 91 or 2, 92.
Yeah, they were doing Lacans in 88. 87 is when Lacan was in. So I mean, Professor skipped people. There was no question about that. But you saw the Lacan down there, right, Ty?
Yo, definitely. All my guys went through non-probationary Lacan or Dion.
So there was all ranks could be probation. What was supposed to happen is there's this misnomer that Lacan and Dion, which was a typo, but it stayed in there, was a probationary belt. And the probationary Lacans and Dions were actually supposed to wear the 3rd degree brown. And then the unprobationary, which I was and a bunch of my students were supposed to wear the black. And actually, when the last time Professor was in Buffalo, a bunch of us tested and there was a bunch that trained with me. One guy got a probationary black belt and the others got the non-probationary. But those were all Lacans, and that was the last camp was 91. Now he may have skipped you on that. I mean, he may have bumped you right to Issa because he thought you were fine because he's done that with people in the past.
Yeah, I was never probationary. I went right from Lacan whatever to Dalawa.
Well, no, I'm saying he may have skipped Lacan completely, which was not probationary.
Yeah,
automatically.
Yeah. Well, I trained directly with him. That's the thing. Every time he came out for a seminar, he'd always stay a few days afterward and train me directly. And that was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, that's pretty standard for all the hosts out there.
Yeah.
Do you remember the year of your last promotion with him?
Early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, my certificate's in my school. I'd have to go look at the date, but it was early 90s.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. I'm just looking at a couple things here. Ty, you got any questions? I mean, you're from the same family,
right? No, this is interesting. This is really great for me. I mean, I started with Eric around 92. Although we started a little earlier because of the cross connection with a name you just mentioned, Grandmaster or Hanshi Terry Bryan, who was Eric's teacher in Chinese Kenpo, Okinawan Kenpo, really, not Chinese. But so that's neat. It's putting a timeline and a schedule in there and all that good stuff. And I'm jealous too because I only had Eric for a year, on and off, in and out. He dumping everything he could, but it's not the same as training with him day to day. So
yeah, 5 years still wasn't enough either.
Right. So good stuff. But even still, he turned me over to Professor because it was closer to easier to train with Professor, and so still kept in touch with him and even gave him material back when he was taking breaks and stuff. But no, this is great. Puts a lot of stuff in perspective and really helps gel things. And it's nice to know, how it happened out here, to get him and you started. So.
Boom. Read that.
Very good. Who's that guy?
That's Eric. I love it. Good to see everyone. Bob was one of my teachers.
Okay.
Okay, Eric, since you're watching, when are you going to be on the show with us, brother? I've got lots of questions. Hey, Frank, would you like to see Eric on the show?
Absolutely.
Ty?
Absolutely. Yep.
100%.
Hey, Eric, did you see, if you haven't seen the promo video, message me because you're in it. There's actually, screw this. Let me see if I can find it. I want to see if I'm going to go off camera for a minute. You guys talk because I don't want to I don't want people thinking I'm not looking at you guys.
No, there you go. Well, while I was setting that up, one of the other questions I was going to ask is, so, you're out there and you had the opportunity to go through, local and not so local camps. I'm just wondering, which camps and any notable thoughts or contacts you might have from the camps that you did while you were training with Eric and even after.
Well, with Eric, mainly, I was going to the Holyoke camps, but then later on, I expanded. I went across the country. I went to Florida camp, Georgia camp, Illinois, Texas. Me and Eric actually helped Professor run a camp in Texas. I think it was 1993.
Maybe that's when. No, it was 93. Then I wouldn't have made it. I think my first camp was 93 or 94. But anyway.
Yeah, I remember Al Garza was at the camp, and Selby.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember, like, we were training late at night. Everybody was exhausted. And I'm like, Professor, should we stop? He's like, no, you must keep them training. Make them jump up and down. They must get energy. And they had enough. So finally, I just let everybody go. And she wasn't very happy about it, but they were just dead. We've been training like 10 hours.
Was that the one where it was we were training the indoor tennis courts at the hotel?
Think so, yeah.
Okay, that was my first camp then.
It was 1993. And here's a funny story, too. Eric might remember, too. It was back in the Texas camp. It was 1993. And Professor and Eric are there demonstrating back and forth. Eric is showing control because, he's with Professor. Professor goes, you must hit me harder, strike harder. You hit like worms, strike me. So Eric goes, okay. And he comes in, he swings. And I don't know if it went through Professor's stick or if it bounced off it. Professor got hit in the forehead.
Yep.
And he got a little cut in his forehead. And he started bleeding. And he's showing things funny. He goes, oh, I think I am hit.
I remember that. Yeah. So that was my first one, which is why I don't remember meeting folks. Well, that's great. So we got a chance to overlap a little bit, even if we don't remember.
There's Eric right there with that Fu Manchu mustache.
There we go. That's the Eric I remember.
He's, he besides it being, a different color,
a little salty.
He's still looking. I reckon. When I see photos of him, I recognize him right out of the box.
Absolutely. I think that was the same camp too, where he was doing a knife drill and the professor pushed him, and wanted to go faster and faster and faster. And eventually the professor switched to left hand. Yeah. And we told Eric that afterwards, and he was like, big smile and very happy. That meant something, right? If you had the professor switch hands, you were doing really good.
Okay. So, our friend Nazir likes the fact that we're going through and talking about the dates and when and who did what, because it is important to go through these things and put a timeline on things, puts better perspective on things. So
to me it has its place, but really my focus on the work I do. There's so much chatter that goes on with like ranks and titles and professor liked me best, and what I've done over the years is I've heard you say it, like in the trenches. I've been just in the trenches in Connecticut, and I've just been really focusing on the work that I do. Also, Tim, I've heard you mention how like making an impact. That's what I'm trying to do, is make an impact. I'm just trying to teach and pass on what I learned from Professor the best that I possibly can. Share the stories, because the stories are part of the culture.
There's definitely some. A lot of things I've said like this over the time. We do need to have. We need to put things in perspective.
Uh-huh.
When you put all the stuff out there, it's important to have the history, and right. I think that's what we're talking about here. Like I said, we all have our own story, and. Right now, especially, which we've had episodes on this already with like Datu's Corner, is Modern Arnis is at a tipping point right now. It's a shame that such an art that was so big is at a risk of becoming extinct for the second time. Filipino martial arts weren't doing well in the Philippines, and Professor helped get that back on track. And right now, COVID is not helping things at all. But, Modern Arnis, I think, was probably the largest or one of the largest Filipino martial arts practiced globally. And now, not doing too well.
Yeah. I remember back in the day, it was awesome looking at the back of Black Belt magazine and looking at the schedule. And every weekend, Remy Priestess, like just all over the place. Those are amazing days.
Yep. For me, it was Inside Kung Fu, but yeah, I got you. I would comb it for those dates and things.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Nazir, for the compliment there.
There you go. Yep.
The other thing, and we'll talk. It's just the dirty side of what we do. is that it's important to put this down there because there's been a bunch of people who've made claims, incorrect claims, and having timelines laid out. And people say, well, the professor did this here, there, or ever. Well, now it's just a little better way of vetting things because, well, if this happened at such and such camp, that's funny because I was at such and such camp. Right. I recall seeing, like what Atlanta camps. I mean, which of the Atlanta camps did you go to?
I went to one of them. It was obviously with Bob Quinn running it. And what year was it? 1990. See, I never recorded all these dates.
See, I don't remember. I mean, I've been to two of Bob's camps, but I didn't know he did camps that early. I know he did camps 99 and 2000. I was at the two of them. I'm trying to put a date. I've got a Remy schedule file I'm putting together, and I've got a lot of his years because I used to actually manage one of the websites, and I had his seminar tour, but there's huge holes because some stuff is just not on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I don't have the date. I went to the Florida camp with Bruce Chu. I went to the Atlanta camp with Bob.
Well, we were there together.
Yeah, with Jeff Delaney, because Jeff Delaney was at the one I went to.
He was only to one camp, so that was I actually ended up I was doing the forms and then teaching knife work there. Ray Dianaldo was there. Jeff was there, Chuck was there, Kenny was there.
Yeah.
Bruce only did one camp, so
okay.
We both would have had to been there.
Yeah, it was in that big gymnasium. It was like a gymnasium, like
a gymnastics place, I think. Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. Here's once again another event that people are at that. Yeah. Although the hotels that Bruce had set up were terrible, we ended up. Janice and I got down there at night. We opened up the door, never got the whiff, shut the door, found a new hotel. And he's like, "Well, he's trying to save people money." No. Not with the shot I'd have to have after that.
I don't even remember the hotel at all. I just remember the gymnastics area and the camp. And I remember the 1-2 trapping hands drill. I think it's the first time I saw that. And some knife drills.
So how many seminars did you host for a professor?
Well, you asking about the dates has got me interested. So I'm going to go back and try to get all the dates. Do
you pretty much have them once a year?
Once a year, sometimes twice a year.
Okay.
The last one I did was August 20th of 2000.
Okay.
I think it was right before we went off to Germany. The first one was in 1992.
Okay. That was after Eric left?
Yes. And I did one most years and some years two. One time I had George Doman and Remy, and then one year I had Wally J as well as professor. So sometimes I had him double up with other people. Oh, and 1 year with Dan Anderson.
Okay.
Nice.
When Dan was there, was he teaching karate or Arnis?
Karate.
He did the same thing in Detroit, 97.
Yeah.
Late 97, early 98.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest ones I ever had. We had 101 people.
Nice.
Which for me, that was a big seminar. I normally had 30, 40, somewhere in there, 50. And that year, though, we just really hit a big. That's when you were saying when it was really like a well and alive and strong. People from all over came, and it was just remarkable.
Excellent.
Yeah. Those are good times. And after we got to eat afterward, we get big tables, like at a Chinese restaurant, big tables, and talk and eat afterward.
Yep. Well, that's a big part of the camps that people don't forget about it, but they forget to plan for it sometimes. It's really easy to train, 1,000 hours a day, and then you need some of that other stuff too, I think.
Yeah.
I would, we would go anytime I had a fistful of dollars and a tank full of gas. I was on the road. I was aggressive. I call since I started hosting them. I would call all these guys up and say, "Hey, I've got a professor coming in, and from one host to another. I want to let you know if you want to come to my seminar, it's free of charge. Because I'm not going to charge another host. Hey, Tim, thank you. I'd do the same. They didn't come to me, but I definitely went to theirs. Remember, like the first time I had Professor by himself, we had like 120 people at the event, and then it stabilized right around 80. And then last 2 times I had Remy and G together, so that was definitely fun. I loved it. Got a bunch of people coming in, hanging out, going out for food afterwards, and shooting the bull, and a lot of smack talk, and Professor picking on me, and it's like all good.
Great times for sure. But I wish I would have gotten more out of Texas. I mean, I was a grad student at the time, so I got everywhere I could in Texas and the surroundings, but that didn't carry me very, very far in grad school.
Yeah, I was fortunate because he was around here so much, like in Massachusetts and Connecticut and New York and New Jersey. So I was really fortunate. This is one area he kept coming back to.
Speaking of getting around, I mean, I know we had met maybe even several times. I'm trying to figure out when the first time we met for real and can remember. So I'm going to depend on you because I know we had, but do you know when that was?
I don't.
No
I
worries.
wish I did a better job at keeping records. I didn't even take a lot of pictures. Like, thankfully, a lot of other people took pictures and sent them to me. I blasted in, I trained, I blasted out. And in hindsight, I wish I would have taken pictures and mingled more and documented things.
Yeah, same problem here. Yeah, and I never take pictures, or if I did take pictures, it wasn't with me in it or with anybody.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have the reference.
Yeah, I trained with Eric for like 5 years, and I have maybe 1 or 2 pictures.
Exactly.
I'm so mad about that. I wish I would have taken a lot more.
Yep.
But when you're a lot younger, you kind of don't think of the future like that. Your kind of mind is in the now.
Yep.
And realize in the future, you wish you looked back and had those pictures.
Well, it was different then. I mean, now, I even this weekend, I didn't take as many photos because I was hosting the event, and but I did take pictures. And before, we didn't have a phone that could do all this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Back then it was film.
Yeah.
Yep.
And before that, it was, etchings.
Stone tablets, yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but at least for me at the time, film was expensive because grad school again. Remember?
So, go ahead, Ty.
Oh no, that was it.
So now here's a question for you. So you've been doing modern Ernie since the 90s. You do Kenpo. And hello, Billy from the Philippines, one of our favorite people we like to visit with.
Yes. Riddell person.
Yeah. So do you run a blended program?
I do now.
And then with your modern Arnis proper, is there anything else blend in there at all to augment maybe some deficiencies based on the fact that Professor primarily taught from the Art Within Your Art platform?
Okay. So first of all, in my school, and I consider it a full-fledged school. I've opened in 1993. It's had a full-time schedule up until present day. It has a little sales place. It has a little office. It has a spectator area, changing rooms, dojo, and it has 3 separate full programs. By full, I mean it has a full-fledged curriculum with ranking. It has the Kenpo. It has a separate modern Arnis program, and then it has a separate weapons program. The modern Arnis is mostly just what I learned directly from Professor, but I did add in a few other things as well that I liked, that I felt blended in well with it. Like there's like a Punyo drill that I learned. Some of the Kenpo storm techniques, the club things I added in, but I always differentiate and tell people, well, this is something I added in. But 95% of what I teach in Arnis is strictly what I learned from Professor.
Okay. How much emphasis do you have on the open hand combatives in that program?
By that, do you mean like taking the empty hand stuff and actually have people kind of just spontaneously go at it, or what do you mean by combatives?
Well, the whole thing is combatives. I mean,
well, I know. So what do you mean by that?
I mean, what do you mean? Or what I mean is, there's an open hand element of martial arts.
Right.
Are you focusing? Okay. Well, let me back up a little. How many of your students do Arnis by itself?
And nothing else?
That would be by itself, yes.
Okay. I'd say.
Well, and let me rephrase that. In your club, not saying that they came from another club like
Right.
Nathan and something like that, but if the people who are enrolled in your programs, how many of them do something other than, or how many of them do Modern Arnis as the only thing they do in your club?
Probably not many. Let me think through the people here. I'd say maybe three or four.
So when it comes to an open hand component of combatives dealing with, locks, takedown, self-defense type stuff, which is all in Modern Arnis, are you teaching that aspect, or are they relying on their Kenpo?
Oh, no.
Open hand.
No, not relying on any other art. No, I teach it standalone, directly applying it from the Modern Arnis into the combative application.
So they're doing punching, kicking, locking, throwing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Directly from the Arnis. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you just take the forms alone and deconstruct them, there's a lot of open hand combatives there.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a direct application. And actually for higher levels, that's what's required. Take this stuff and now show me, what are you doing? How does it work? Be convincing. That's required for the higher levels.
So you do a belted curriculum?
Yeah, I do.
So in your belts, what percentage would be unarmed tactics versus armed in the modern program?
That's something I haven't got a lot of thought to, because I have certain requirements for the testing, but then outside of the testing, I'll have them expand upon it. I will say it's close to 50-50. It's really hard to put a percentage, because really we're supposed to be making a translation, right? We're supposed to be able to take everything with a stick or a knife or empty hand and translate between them all. So, I mean, really, it's hard to put a percentage.
How much time do you dedicate to it? Maybe that's a better question.
I don't really time it. I mean, it depends on the student. Some students pick it up fast, so I'll spend less time with them because they got it. Other students, maybe they struggle with it, so I'll spend more time at it. It's really equal. I put equal emphasis on it, but how much time will I spend depends on the student. How quickly they pick it up. But the emphasis is equal.
Ty?
I don't know if that exactly answers the question.
I think it does. I think it was just trying to figure out, what all is involved, and as you say, it's all in there. And it looks like the good thing is what I think what I want to highlight here is when people are doing that, that is all good stuff that's in what Remy shared with us, and a lot of times people would focus on single stick or even toppy or whatever it happens to be, and de-emphasize the rest of it. So I'm not surprised, right? So I got the same appreciation for all of the pieces that got us to where we go, all of the pieces, right? Empty hand, the translation, all that stuff from Eric as well. So, I think, over specializing is a bad thing. So I'm right there with you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think early on, I wasn't sure what they were talking about. You must make the translation. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, it's all the same. I'm like, what do you mean it's all the same? You're showing 1,000 different techniques. And then finally one day the light bulb went off and I looked at it from the other direction. Even though we're getting to it in a different way, when you look what's happening to the person, it's really the same things happening to the person. And that's when I started to make the connection. So then in my own curriculum, I said, well, how can I make it easier for my students to get it? So I started to put it in there in the curriculum. Like, okay, now show me the disarms, but with no sticks. Now show me this, but with a knife. And now they have to go through that process to understand making that translation and connection. Yeah. So I put equal emphasis on all of it, but some people take more time at one than the other. It depends on the person.
Oh, that's good. So actually pulling on the thread of your school and whatnot, and how you have a standalone approach program like that. Well, I think Datu asked how many RPC, right? Remy Price's attested to, right? Certified black belts you had, but also just after that. So you kept going and you kept teaching and you kept running your classes. So I'm wondering how that's gone for you. First remind us what the number was again, and how have you done since then, and how's it gone? Or maybe you have grandkids. I'm not sure.
No, not yet. Not for another few years either, I hope.
Well, I mean, Marshall grandkids.
I think we lost something here. Okay, let me rephrase. How many Remy Prices certified black belts have you produced?
Do you mean testing directly under professor?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because to be a black belt, once again, so everyone at home understands what we're saying. If you are a legitimate Modern Arnis black belt while Remy was alive, the certification came from him. My students, I produced, but they had to get his seal approval.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I did have a separate school curriculum, but that's why I'm very particular about RPC, Remy Prices certified. So, because some people get a little confused on some things. So you are a Remy Prices certified black belt because Remy certified you. And he was the only one that had the authorization to do it because he didn't give any of the students that authorization.
Right.
So how many people have you brought in front of a professor and tested for their black belts?
None. They all tested up to brown, I believe, under him. And then by the time they were getting ready for the higher levels, unfortunately, he passed away. So I'd have to give some extra thought, but I believe all of them tested under me for black.
Okay.
So then after he died, how many black belts of your own, or total, right? Have you produced? Because I think that's just one of the things that we're both concerned about. I'm not speaking for anyone else, but I know it's a shared concern. Is continuing the art, and the first way you got to do that is to have more instructors. So I'm wondering, how many of you produced? And I would imagine it'd be a fair amount. So that's why I thought I'd ask.
Right. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I wasn't expecting all the numbers to be thrown at me. So I don't have my books in front of me. I'd say about a dozen, maybe a dozen.
Nice.
Black
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be an exact. I mean, okay, this is not an inquisition.
It feels like it. How many numbers and Remy certified?
Right.
I keep everything more simple.
I mean, it's don't sweat it.
I'm not.
there's when we're talking about certain things, we're trying to track the family tree down.
Right.
So the first thing I want to find is anybody out there who Remy promoted the black belt, because I'm working GMAP, the Global Modern Arnis Project, is the family tree. And the first thing I'm trying to do is find all the black belts that tested in front of Remy.
Right.
I don't count any of my post-Remy black belts in this project, although the post-Remy black belts are important because, well, we need to make sure the art goes forward. Right. But we're just trying to find out who did what at that time.
Yeah.
See if there's anybody that needs to be added to the family tree.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'll have to look at my records because I just don't have all that stuff in front of me. But generally speaking, I think that I have a number that went up to brown, but I believe that for black and up, it was all under me.
No problem.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, but that's good too.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, and so you've got, it's just with your personal ones, you got way more than me. So, so it's not worried about numbers. It's worried about the growth of the art writ large and tracing these kinds of interactions and growths. So that's cool. Yeah, no, a good deal.
Yeah, it's been nonstop. Since I opened in 1993, it's been nonstop teaching day in and day out.
That's perfect. How are you? Has COVID hurt you? I know that you also have some online materials and technical.
Oh yeah, it definitely hurt us. I've kept open the whole time, through online and then now both online and physical. So I mean, I've kept going and stayed open. But oh yeah, it's been very difficult. Been very difficult. Just people afraid to leave the house. People not having the money or afraid of losing their job, so they don't want to pay for karate.
Right.
Yeah, it's been very tough.
Hey, you know what?
Tim Blunt, no.
Listen, okay. Well, we talked about. I saw Gabriel Iglesias the other day, and Fluffy, and he talked about how New Yorkers have got a hard edge. He couldn't live here. He was in Manhattan for a show. There was that bombing the other day, and all the tourists are running, and then he's getting a hot dog, and he goes to the guy, "Hey, what do you think about this?" He goes, "You want relish with that?" and that's how the New Yorkers are with things, you know. And the thing here is that I've found out in Buffalo, you know, I don't want to beat around the bush, because sometimes when you're trying, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to get a question answered. And sometimes people are asking questions and they can't get it. That's why a lot of times I'd rather say something. I go, and if I get a little too aggressive, I can always reiterate. But sometimes when you're going about it some ways that people just miss the point. And, you know, it's like, hey, listen, if I screwed up, just tell me. Don't be, you know, okay, here we go. Let me ask you this. Do you remember this saying? What does this saying mean to you there, Frank? Oh, you could do that. What does that mean to you, Frank?
Well, to me, that's him being very diplomatic. You know, that's him not wanting to hurt your feelings if maybe there's a different way he wants you to do it, or a better way, or if you're not doing it right. That's him being diplomatic to not hurt your feelings.
Yeah. Well, me, I'm like, hey, knucklehead, get it right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, no, I wouldn't say knucklehead. I would use a different noun or adjective in there that would work. But I mean, if that's wrong, I'm going to sit there and say, no. And listen, that was Professor's style. But sometimes people thought, oh, I could do that too. And it caused more problems. You know, it was his, to me, when he said, you know, I remember the one time I was going, well, you could do that too. I go, stop it. No. What am I doing wrong? Oh, you could do that too. No. So when it comes to my train, I mean, this is, listen, I'm nicer on the seminars than I am in my club, you know, and like my kids, I'll say, hey, that's what I'm looking for. And I do positive encouragement with all the students, but when it's wrong, it's wrong. And I found out in life, when I am less than blunt, then sometimes people go sideways, or they misunderstand, or they're, you know, so I just call it the way I see it. Not trying to be a jerk. I'm a
big believer in diversity. I think it's great that everybody does have a different approach. If everybody had the exact same approach, I think we'd be in trouble. So I think it's great that each person has their own approach. That's their approach.
Good. I'll be the blunt one, and Ty will be the nice guy.
Yeah, there you go.
As we joked, he's the good cop, I'm the bad cop.
The cop and the bad cop.
Or I'm Ed McMahon or whatever.
Yeah. So where are we at? Where are we at after Tag made that comment? Tag 1080.
So we were talking about COVID and where you were with that, and students and how it's progressing, and you made it through, and then some of your online offerings.
Oh, hey, you know, here's something about Frank, and you never got back to me. You never sent the link. Frank did an online tournament.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you never got back to me with what the registration information, but how did that go?
Oh, it went fantastic. You know, I've done a tournament every year since 1993. And then, you know, a year ago, I'm like, you know, am I really going to miss this for the first time in all this time? So I said, no, I'm not going to miss it. So I learned how to do, Christine Bena-Rodriguez helped me quite a bit.
Awesome.
Very generous with her knowledge and time. So she was able to help me with that. And I had an international tournament. So I had people from other countries that participated. And I learned how to do everything online. And it was kind of cool watching everybody's tournament videos. And then the judges would do the scoring. And then they get sent a certificate for what place they took.
Wow.
And I loved it. It was phenomenal. Yeah, and I thought I did send it to you. I'm sorry if I didn't. I thought I did.
Yeah, I know Jose Torres did one. I competed in that one for forms. That was pretty cool. It was weird because I helped him judge. You know, we're doing the scores, and the people submitted their videos in ahead of time, and none of it was live. The scoring was live, but that was the only thing. It was weird though with that waiting for the scores, because then I submitted my video. It was actually a lot of the same kind of energy from a real live tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was the grand champion. I didn't pay anybody off this time.
Yeah, it really went really well. And the people running the platform to do it really had it down to a science.
Yeah, that's nice. Well, I'm glad you mentioned Christine, because you're right. She's super helpful and generous with her knowledge and experiences and stuff. So there's another place where we intersect.
Yeah, I've been working with her now for a few years, and we do some seminars back to back. And you know, some of the people I worked with in the past, you know, the first time they come to my school, they're kind of respectful, and each time they get maybe a little bit less. You know, Christine Bainer-Rodriguez is always top notch, always professional, always respectful, you know, always knows her stuff, and just really impressed, you know, by her. Yeah.
So anyway, did we finish the all you wanted to say about how you're dealing with COVID and what are your numbers back creeping up?
They're slowly coming up, but because numbers are starting to come up again, you know, I'm a little bit worried about the enrollment, but I am getting better enrollment now. But it wasn't all bad because I have gotten some long distance private lesson students now.
Okay.
They thought, what better time than now, you know, than to, you know, do some online stuff. And before COVID, I never heard of Zoom. When I saw like Christine's doing Zoom, I'm like Zoom? What's Zoom?
Right.
So it actually opened up a whole new avenue. And I think it makes you a better teacher too. You know, having to teach now on Zoom, I think it makes you a better teacher. You have to describe everything verbally. You can't sit there and physically adjust them and move them to where you want them to move. You really got to work your vocal game.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric, I like you being blunt with me when we work together. And Eric, it's not Datu, it's Tim, you bastard.
Hey, you could do that.
Hey, Frank, tell the story. Tell the daughter story. It's funny because Eric didn't believe I remembered it.
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to tell the story?
Yeah, tell the story.
Okay, sure, I will. But first I'll say that was also a little bit of an Eric style. Eric could be very direct, but what I loved about him is he'd always give you a better way to do it. Like I've had teachers walk up and say, well, that's no good, and they'd walk away. And you're left basically feeling like you're no good and you didn't even help me. Eric would say, well, I don't think that would work, but here's what I'd recommend. He'd always show you the better way to do it. So anyway, Tim had come in and done a seminar down our place. Eric had him in, and I think we were above a courthouse, or above a gym. We were up in a little room, and it was for, I think you came out afterward or maybe the night before, and we're all in Eric's dining room. And it was a little bit later at night, and Tim is sitting there, Eric is sitting there, I'm sitting there, and we're talking about whatever. I think about Professor, actually. We're talking about Arnis and Professor and what else, you know. And Eric's daughter, Jamie, comes in kind of half asleep. And I'm expecting her to walk up to Eric, but she goes up and sits on Tim's lap. and Tim just like acted like nonchalant. He just kind of acted like, okay, you know, I do this every day, you know. And Jamie, I think, sat there for a while and then got up and went back to bed.
I don't even know if we teased her the next day or not, or just whatever, but it was like,
That's funny.
Oh, here we go. Boom. Joe says, Frank, great to see you here too. Hey, I thought you were coming to the camp this weekend, Joe. We'll have to bust the chops on that one. So, okay, so you got the school going. You're doing good with your seminars virtually and physically. You got physical classes going on. Have you seen an uptick in performance or in enrollment?
Recently, I have. Yeah. But with the numbers coming back up again, I'm a little bit worried. But what I'm finding is a lot of people, really are tired of staying secluded, and they're like, whatever, COVID, whatever, I'm done. I have to get out with people again. You know, I can't learn martial arts anymore online. We got to do this physically. So I am seeing a little bit of an uptick in enrollment again, but I am still cautiously optimistic.
Okay. Yeah, I know we've never been busier. It's been huge. So Nathan has the question. What is the most important lesson you learned from Professor?
Yeah, that's a really good question and a tough question. You know, I think he was kind of a mentor to me the way he was to so many other people. But I think just feeling he believed in me. Like, I think we all at some point in time, maybe especially when we were younger, feel like we need somebody to believe in us. And I felt like he always believed in me. And same thing with Eric, same thing. He was a good mentor, and I felt like he believed in me. When Eric moved, we still kept in touch and everything, but I wasn't able to see him as much. But then Professor was there. And when I was thinking of opening up my own school, I was a little nervous about it. I wasn't really martial arts all that long. And I felt very good at customer service. I felt very good with teaching, but actually opening up a whole full-fledged school, I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was just kind of a young kid. But Professor was right there and said, look, I will help you. He goes, you open it up and I'll be right there. I'll help you. I'll give you advice. And he did. So I think without extra push, I don't know if I would open up the school or not. I don't really know. So I think it's not even so much what he taught me as it was that I always felt like he believed in me. I'd say that's the most important thing. But then he also would have a lot of good advice about things too. Like you must relax. The first camp I went to, I usually try to train going as fast as I could, full speed. He would say, no, you must go slow. You must relax. You must slow down. So he really got me to slow everything down. So that was definitely one big lesson I got from Professor, was to just really relax and slow things down quite a bit. So that was a big lesson. You know, he always was saying, you know, life is short. You know, you must enjoy life, and you must eat the lobster and the steak. You know?
Right.
He was always giving kind of good life lessons, I guess. He was kind of like the guide, the one who was kind of pointing the direction.
Right.
Yeah. So it's hard to pick one thing, but those are the things that jump out to me when I get asked that question. Yeah.
Like a favorite grandpa, right?
Yeah. And there's always a story.
Yep.
You know, one time I was hosting a seminar with him, and he walked up to me, and I just got married. He goes, "Oh, that is very good. You got married. You'll be a very happy man. That is very smart of you. Good job." So as I walked away, he was still within earshot. And he walked up to a student of mine, and he goes, "Oh," he goes, "you know, are you getting married?" He goes, "No, I'm not getting married." "Smart man, do not get married. You are not get married." And I just laughed so hard. He kind of he gave me one advice and gave my student the opposite advice.
Nice. But he was very good that way, right? He always made personal connection, made people feel encouraged, feel enabled, but also transferred his encouragement and enthusiasm, right?
Yeah, he was amazing. Yeah.
So you got any other good stories? Because since we're on that vein, we might as well do that.
Yeah, he visited my house, and it was sort of an Italian style built house. And the way it looks from the front, like you can't tell there were two levels. Like you can see one level, but then kind of go down the hill behind the house, there's a second level. Okay. So when he visited my house one day, he looked at it and he goes, "Oh, this is like a mafia house." There's a mafia. So every time he visit, he's called the mafia house.
Nice.
And then one day when he was walking out in the back, you know, his vision wasn't real great in night vision at that time. And he looked up at the sky, and there was like a plane going by with a little bit of lights on it. And he thought it was a firefly. So he started thinking, "Oh, look at the firefly. Oh, I like the firefly. Oh, that is not a firefly. It is an airplane." And like he just had the cutest, the funniest, you know, ways about him.
Definitely. Yep. That's good.
And then one time we're in a restaurant after a seminar, and he started to explain a technique to me. So in the middle of the restaurant with everybody there, he stands up and starts showing me a technique.
Right.
In the middle of the restaurant.
Yep. I know some stories about people at airports. It was any time was training time. So we hosted him basically anytime, like in a commercial, every 10 minutes on a show. If he was just sitting down, he'd get up and get up, grab a stick, we will train. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Or whatever. No, that's good stuff. So the other thing I was going to do, and I just want to know, you know, how things spread about it. Would I maybe have run across any of your students? Are they out doing stuff? Are they all active now, or have they moved on? Or they have their own schools, that kind of good stuff?
Well, kind of all of the above. You know,
okay.
I might have some people that are sort of homegrown. You know, they first martial art was me, and they're still with me. You know, so I have that. Sure. I have people that started in other places, but they wanted to come and learn different things. Mm-hmm. I go out and teach seminars in all different places around New England, so I've done that. You know, I have some people that have moved and they've stayed in touch and they still train remotely. So really kind of a little bit of all of the above.
Perfect. So that is spreading it. That's the thing I'm trying to get at. So that's exactly it. You're making me smile. So because we all love this stuff.
I have one student that moved down to Georgia, you know, and he said, "Well, I'm going to keep doing your stuff." And, you know, I really didn't expect he would, because, you know, you're that far away and you're probably going to go to another school. And lo and behold, he flew me down there a year later and he remembered everything that I taught him.
Perfect.
And it's just remarkable.
So did he have someone to train with, or did he just work it on his own?
Mostly on his own.
Wow.
Yeah. I sent him all my videos, videotapes, and he flew me down there twice a year, and he flew up here twice a year, and we would train.
Nice.
Yeah. I have a fellow in Michigan right now, and he's still training, you know. So yeah, kind of all of the above.
Good deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's important. I'm hoping, well, maybe them a few more will start up and share. What I call it is, hey, I need to work on my stuff. Who wants to train with me? That's how I got started.
Yeah.
And then Remy says, you will start a club, and so I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would encourage that for sure.
All right. Sorry, I had to lock the school up because everyone left, and I'm the last one here. Boom, boom, boom. And Joe, I will PM you. And Joe also says,
there you go.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You better send him a check for that comment.
Yeah, checks in the mail. Checks in the mail.
There you go.
So, I'm going to ask you two things. Oh, wait a minute. Let me put the spotlight on you.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, here's what I want. Give me your the two proudest accomplishments, one local and then one miscellaneous, which could be whatever. So as a modern Arnis practitioner, what is, say, do you have something local, hint, nudge, nudge, and then maybe something bigger than that. So
yeah, there's really so many to pick from. So like, I'll pick two, but really there's a lot more than two. Locally, something that meant a lot to me was an induction into Middletown Sports Hall of Fame. And, that's not something that's strictly martial arts, but it meant a lot to me for a few reasons. One reason is that I think they started in the 90s, and there's only been really a couple of people from martial arts that ever got inducted. So I feel good that I'm like maybe the third person that got inducted into that.
And you were inducted for martial arts?
They mentioned also swimming and baseball.
Okay.
But the main thing was for martial arts contributions.
Cool.
But that actually rolls into the other thing, is that something I feel very happy about is I've also done other things like swimming and baseball. And I definitely respect people that all they've done their whole life is martial arts, but I really feel fortunate that as a kid I had a chance to do other things. I heard you swam at a younger age. You said you swam. Yeah. So like, I got to learn all about dealing with other people and working as a team. And, we won't get into the martial art politics. We all know how bad that can be. From a young age, I've dealt with every type of game you can throw at me. I've dealt with a competitor who tried to intimidate me. I've dealt with the type of person who acts nice to my face but tries to get you behind your back. I've dealt with every type. So it really kind of prepared me, I think, for the martial arts, just that high level competition. The other too is that it would have meant a lot to my dad. My dad had passed away about a year or two before I got inducted. It would have meant to the world to him to see me get inducted, in my hometown, the Middletown Sports Hall of Fame. So really, above all else, it would have meant a lot to my dad. So there's that. Something not as local. I think just traveling and meeting so many just amazing people. When I first went up to the school and then Eric had moved, I thought, what do I want to do? I thought, well, I'm going to go out and just meet a lot of the top people out there. Whether it's, at the time, it was the big three. There was Remy, Priestess, Wally J, George Dillman. I went to so many others. I worked with Huck Planis, Lee Ludwig. The list kind of goes on. So just kind of traveling, I think, and meeting all the different people, going to different training camps and just working with hundreds and thousands of people. I think the traveling and the training, means a lot to me. And then just having a school since 1993. The mayor came out after 25 years and named it Cromwell Martial Arts Day in the town and gave me a proclamation and hung it on the wall. And they literally made it Cromwell Martial Arts Day in the town.
Nice.
Yeah. But the bigger thing is just my work. I just like focusing on the students. I like seeing success stories happen. That person who was too shy, to get that job or ask somebody out for that date or get that A in school, they had no confidence, and to see them break out of their shell. Or that person's over aggressive and maybe bring them in a little bit. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody who did have a bad experience, they maybe got beat up by somebody and they want to learn how to defend themselves. And so those everyday success stories is really means the most to me. It's just focusing on my work. At the end of the day, when we're all gone, it's not going to be so much about like what rank were we in, like what title were we in, like what was my prestige. It's going to be like how many lives did you affect for the better? I mean, why do we all love Professor? Think of how many lives he really impacted, right? So for me, that's really the end of the day. What I want to do is how many lives can I impact for the better? You know, are they glad that I came into their life?
Nice.
So,
That's the best reason.
Soapbox now.
Yep.
I'm off my soapbox.
No, that's the best reason. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So there's Frank in a nutshell.
All right.
It'll work.
Well, let me. I got a comment here. You're gonna probably have to read it because where it's at.
I'll read it. It's a long one, right?
Yeah, it's a Joe Rebello thing.
There we go. So Joe Rebello says, wanted to ask all of you regarding Remy for focusing on his left hand work because he was obviously left-handed. So what were your experiences with left-handed Arnis? And by the way, are any of you left-handed?
Let's start off with the first part. Are any of us left-handed? Frank?
No.
Ty?
Nope.
Neither am I. All right. That being said, I am very proficient left-handed, and I fight left-handed. I mean, you know, long before Remy had the left on right, we used to do the left on right because we were training our group for when Professor would push and go left-handed.
Yep.
This is before there was what is now known as tap. There was Solobaston left versus right is really the better name for it. It was tappy was something different, but
yes,
we're going to do a show on that.
Yeah.
How about you, Ty?
Yeah, no, I'm not left-handed. Obviously, from the left. So actually, from Eric, he encouraged us to do our forms and do all the material left-handed if we could, and so we did that all along. But we didn't get a lot of pure left-handed material until Remy started trying to catch Texas up with left versus right. And I'm probably unique because I learned the left hand first when I learned tappy.
Oh, okay.
Because I had to be the one to do that, and so that was fine. So to this day, my left hand is better with tappy than my right because of that.
Frank?
Yeah, so I'm right-handed, but through Eric and through Professor, you know, they both encouraged me to do everything lefty and righty. Mm-hmm. So I still do that. But I'll never forget when I was at a seminar somewhere, Professor was doing the Decadena, we called it back then, Decadena. And I remember he's going righty with somebody. He goes, oh, but I'm left-handed. And then he switched to the left, and he just like blew the person away. You know, and I'll never forget that.
let's talk about that one right there, because I think that is you might have just helped me find out a linguistic snafu. Please give me your definition of how you're using Decadena, because
sure.
I know what I was taught, and there's a region of people who used it. By my terminology, by the way we were brought up, we would say it was incorrect. So I want to hear what you're thinking.
Absolutely. All I can tell you is my experience with Professor. You know, whenever I show up to a seminar, he'd always go off on the side and then bang the Decadena with me, so then he could beat me up in front of the crowd. And so he called it Decadena, and it wasn't tappy. You know, it didn't always end with the two hands being tied up in the baiting and all that. It was where you start with a single Sinawali, and one person is leading and one is following, and you know, you go back and forth. And it was like the stick sparring at the time. It was like semi-fixed sparring or semi-freestyle sparring. Right. That's what he called it at the time. That's what he taught me with the Decadena. And then later, he also then showed you the left versus right application. That came later. First was the right versus right.
Ty?
Only thing I was going to add, is that actually helps me a little bit too, but it matches what I also started learning from Eric, or was being exposed to some of the things he would be talking about or trying to set us up for, like you said, the game semi-sparring and whatnot. I'll add in another thing. And actually, I only saw, say, left versus right disarms and things like that were taught kind of more like curriculum, only on private times with Remy. I never saw those at seminars or camps. So all the left-hand work I got, I was going to clarify, was in seminars and camps, was the left-hand tappy. The other stuff was done elsewhere. But what you're talking about Decadena is interesting, because I've met a few other people that use that term. I think Rocky's one of them, to describe that kind of stuff. Yeah,
many people, when I use that now, they never even heard of it, but I know for a fact that's what he called it to me. And he called it trapping hands, empty hand Decadena.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to interject.
Sure.
So, because, I started the Filipino Karate Academy from John Bryant. He was in the original videos. Remy was a silent partner. So this is where I'm gonna, just so we understand where I'm coming from.
Sure.
And my microphone's still messing up. That's precariously balanced on the edge here. So decadena means to chain or link, cadena de mano and stuff like that. It's chaining. Yep. Generally, that was used in conjunction with trapping hands. So if you throw a punch, 1, 2, 3, that would be a 1 count. If you went back and forth, that was decadena. Now, there was the semi-sparring, the solo baston semi-sparring, which you would do single Sinwali into butting. The tappy at the time was Sagitas from Blintwalk, which was a random feed and a counter. And eventually, he created these left on right inserts, which would have been in the solo baston semi-sparring, but ended up all combining both categories together. Decadena, because that was funny, because I went up to Poughkeepsie, actually Highland, New York. I thought Tom Bolden owned the school. Actually, it was Bobby Sullins, and Tom was brought in to teach.
Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, let's do decadena." Okay, and I'm with Kathy Sullen. So I'm like, "All right, I'm ready to start doing trapping hands." And all of a sudden, she pulls out a stick. I'm like, "Okay." So it was tappy, the original tappy.
Yeah.
There's definitely, they also did backwards throw, or they called backwards throw side by side and a few other terminology. I figured that Remy had one of those moments where endorphins are pumping and words are coming out of his mouth that don't necessarily match. Because if anyone had been around Remy, sometimes when he gets excited, he'd be speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd see that was more of a regional thing, because like the rest of us, decadena was more specifically geared for trapping hands.
Yep.
Yeah, not for me. His introduction to me was with a stick, and then he made a comment one time that said, "Oh, and trapping hands is the empty hand decadena." But most of the time with me, he'd say, "Let's do the decadena," and it'd be the stick sparring.
We used to do 6-count decadena. The 6-count decadena. This was, the chain of 6-count together at your speed, timing, become short trap. Yeah. So like the Buffalo group, decadena was a whole different definition there.
Yeah.
Let me see we have someone from Australia coming in here. Greetings from down under in OZ, Master Tino of the of Few / Goju Kalis. I know Master Tino. How you doing, sir? I would certainly avail myself for discussion to what and why and how the FMA takes its stand on a different level, of which we are well tuned in sharing the legacy of our GM of Modern Arnis, Remy Amador Praises. Did I read that right?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah, I don't have my readers on me.
Right.
Well, GM Tino, we would love to have you on the show. Let me see. When did I see him? Last time I saw GM Tino, I want to say it was 2012. It was the trip after GM Ernesto passed away. But he and I had talked a whole bunch of times on previous trips. Great guy. Love him. At least he's nice to me. Then again, what does that mean? Okay. What is your top Modern Arnis accomplishment there, sir? Just in Modern Arnis.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, wow.
What was your proudest moment in Modern? And it could be a moment. It could be, doesn't have to be, I earned a black belt. I did this. It could be just that, when Remy said this to me, or I saw my students doing that, or, whatever.
Wow. Good. Very good question. Top accomplishment. I would say when I held my ground, when we did, and again, I'm going to call it the decadena, I held my ground. When we first started doing it, he'd always push me backward. And I just didn't want to get hurt. He'd bring the stick, this close to your chin.
Right.
And powerful. And sometimes not even looking at you. He'd be looking at the audience while he's like doing this at you. So I was just trying to stay. Richard Roy made a comment, you just try to stay out of the way and not get hurt. And I pretty much, that's how I felt. One day, somebody was there and said, hold your ground, stand your ground, don't move back. And that's what I did. I held my ground and I stood and I went at it with probably a few minutes. And then he looked proud, like after he had a smile on his face, and like, wow, you got it. So there's a lot of accomplishments, but that is really one I feel good about. I stood in there with him. He didn't push me back, and I kept up with him. And I watched his pattern. Even he had a pattern sometimes. When he would switch to his left, he'd come in with sometimes the bent wrist. So I kind of saw, and I saw him switch hands. So right away I put my hand up before he even moved, and I blocked it. It's only because I put my hand up ahead of time, anticipating what he was going to do. So that one little bout with him there, I think, is one of my things I'm most proud of, the fact I hung in there with him. Of course, then he picked me up more later, but but that was a fun time.
Excellent. And then, of course, Joe, thank you for agreeing with me. He's trying to stay on my good side.
There you go. What Joe was describing is that's the only way I heard Dick get in it too, but I understand that it means chaining. So depending on who was using it. Yeah. I was going to say, as far as so frankly, with the not holding ground and not being pushed back, that's how and it might have been because of you. Later on, he made sure, at least to teach our group, that both these people were supposed to put that positive pressure on the drill to really make that happen, or compress it in time and space. Mm-hmm. Not just about speed, but in terms of pressure. Yeah. And when you held your ground with him, there was a lot of pressure.
Oh yeah, there sure was.
Absolutely.
Okay. Probably my last question. We talked about the solo baston semi-sparring, which evolved into tappy.
Yeah.
Have you done real sparring with the sticks?
I have. Back in the day when I first did it, Eric brought in some PVC tubing, and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember he brought in some type of tube, and I guess it wasn't quite as bad as the rattan, but it still stung a lot. And I remember us whacking each other on the arms and stuff. And then I've done more with the foam, Century came out, the foam ones with the handles, and so I have done sparring with the sticks.
How often do you spar in your classes?
Not as often anymore, especially since COVID.
Well, in an ideal situation.
Yeah.
How would you spar? How often would you spar?
It's kind of a random thing. I think there was a while we were doing it every week. I'd say once a week for quite a while.
What kind of gear did you use besides the padded sticks?
We didn't use a lot of gear. We would sometimes put the Century headgear on. Some of the people wouldn't put anything on their hands, but some would use foam dip gloves on their hands. Mm-hmm. It's not a huge focus in the curriculum as far as the full contact, but we do it. When people get to be about, say, brown belt, I start to really encourage them more in that direction. So I'd say about once a week. And yeah, we use the foam sticks. And we talked about direct attacks and indirect attacks and trying to bait them in and all that type of thing.
Oh, actually, that opened up another question. So you have a standalone program?
I do.
How often? How many classes do you have a week? In obviously, we're COVID. I'm not gonna, Right. I understand. Buffalo, we're back full blown. I'm doing 25 classes a week. Okay. Yeah. So in an ideal situation, without any restrictions, how many Arnis classes are you doing a week? How long are they?
The Arnis meets once a week, and it's anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour, depends how long you hang out for afterward. You mentioned a blend. I do add Arnis into the Kenpo at advanced levels because I'm trying to whet their appetite, and maybe they'll go into the Arnis. So they do get a little Arnis in the Kenpo, but the main program is once a week for Arnis.
Okay. Yeah, and I get it. I mean, listen, throw a little in the Kenpo to get them excited and say, hey, you need these techniques, so come to the Arnis class. So work them there, and they will specialize on them.
And it does fill some of the gaps. I mean, as much as I love Kenpo, I really just do love the Filipino martial arts when it comes to sticks and knives. I just don't find anything really better outside of that. So I do inject that a little bit into the Kenpo.
And has anybody migrated then or added that to some of your Kenpo guys added your program for modern, joined in that as well?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
So if someone wants to train with you in Arnis, What days do you offer? What time are they?
So the group class meets Mondays at 7:15 p.m. But then I'm available for private lessons, and we just kind of look at the calendar and mutually schedule a good time, for the private. But the groups will be Monday night, 7:15.
And in addition to Monday night at 7:15, do you also, you mentioned you do events every once in a while, so you have any events coming up?
Yeah, we do. I do a lot of seminars. I'll be doing a seminar at Spirit of the Wolf Martial Arts in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. October 23rd, Christine Bannon will be doing a session, and I'll be doing a session. Nice. And then I may be doing another one sooner than that in Stafford Springs in about a month. So if anyone's interested, contact me. But yeah, so I have two coming up, one in October 23rd and one probably sooner than that.
So where would they find your seminars listed?
The best thing to do would be to contact me. I'll put them on my newsletter list, but also on my website, crownmartialarts.com. I have an events page, and they can go to my events page. And I posted it on Facebook all the time.
I'm looking at it right now. Tonight's show is listed on there. There we go. Good deal. Good deal. Good deal. That's good. Yeah, so if you go to cromwellmartialarts.com, that'll take you to Frank's page. And then from there, you can navigate through. Second from the bottom is the contact information to get a hold of him. Also, scrolling below, we've got his a phone number and which you could either phone or text messages to. That's up there on his request, not ours. He asked to put that number up. So, is that your personal cell or a business cell?
Both.
Okay,
so I have one cell.
I know who I'm calling it to in the morning.
Hey, I can block people, and I do.
Nice.
All right. So, he does. Okay, so he was Bob. He was doing with an N, not an M, and at the moment is more the Parker's Kenpo, second gen Huck Polanis.
Yeah, I started with the Shaolin Kenpo, and then my school kind of took a deviation into the American Kenpo, so I do a little bit of both. I do a lot of the Shaolin forms, and I do a lot of the American Kenpo self-defense.
There you go. So, Ty, do you have any other questions for our friend here?
I think that's good. I think that's good. So we need to get together at some point. I mean, we're not super duper close, but we're not like an ancient, 5-month trip apart either. So it'd be good to meet on purpose rather than maybe some of the accidents that we both forgotten about.
Yeah, absolutely. And how cool it is after all this time that we're still dedicated, and I do appreciate, Tim, that you do put things under a microscope and you direct. I appreciate that in you. I'm glad we have people like that, because then there's me, I'm not as organized, and I have all these seminar dates and I didn't write them all down. Like, I'm glad.
It's been a good opportunity to promote it, but it is what it is. Listen, on the YouTube channel, we have your link, your information. So the URL's there so people can follow up. Do you have a Facebook page as well for your school?
I do.
Well, there you go. Look up Cromwell Martial Arts on Facebook as well. And then, you can always send me, if you get, what is it? I think it's IG URL. I think they do a conversion for a link that people who are not on Facebook can actually use. But, you can always send me the Facebook URL and I can put it up there for those who want to go there. But, and any other social media. But right now, if you go to it, you'll see on the bottom on the description below, your contact information is there. And of course, for those who's watching this, it's scrolling right there. So if you're seeing the show, you have plenty of opportunities to get a hold of Frank.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So, anything you want to plug last minute?
No. Again, just that I really appreciate the both of you. It's so cool that all these years later, there's still people carrying on modern Arnis.
Okay.
And I appreciate
if you really want to hang out and train. In May, we're celebrating the 65 years of modern Arnis.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's welcome.
Everybody's welcome.
Okay. I haven't done a road trip in a while, so
we got buffalo wings, and we're 30 minutes from Niagara Falls. But listen, I've never had a bad experience with Frank. When I've seen him. So good peeps. Definitely check out the school. So seminars, upcoming events of that nature. Go to Cromwell Martial Arts on Facebook, as well as CromwellMartialArts.com. Thanks for being on our show. And then who knows? We might do some more things. I think we should probably do something with martial techniques in it one of these days. But having demonstrations and stuff like that might be a cool aspect of things.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
All right, well, I'm going to sign you off right now, but don't go. We're going to talk. We'll do the post show. Yeah, we do a post show party last week. I didn't get home until 2:45. And the show ended at 10:30. Needless to say, I missed my morning workout. But all right, Frank, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so another good show, if I say so myself. Chris LaCava, and Frank can hear this, so we're saying, throws a good shindig, make it happen. Okay, there you go. Wait, no, he says, Frank, Tim throws a good shindig, make it happen. Okay, that's what happens when I read without my glasses there.
Either way.
It's poor lighting in here. That's my issue, poor lighting. I think this was a good show. What do you think, sir?
No, I enjoyed it. I really liked some of the ways he makes some connections for just information. This is the connections that we all have and share and cross things. I think that's really interesting. Ultimately, it all helps us, I think, understand how we fit together, and hopefully that can, again, make us go forward and keep it going.
Oh shit! Hold on. Hey, Frank. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Man, it's been a long time.
I'm still here.
Hey, quick question. Besides you and Brian, are there any other modern Arnis schools in Connecticut?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I apologize if I don't mention some people. I'm sure there's great practitioners that I just don't know.
Well, I never asked about them, so I mean, it's not,
But yeah, there's a school with Wang Tang Wei and Lian Brophy. They're Kenpo school, but they also have a separate modern.
Oh, Wayne and yeah.
And I want to give a shout out. Actually, that come to my mind. I want to give a shout out to all the schools out there who every day in and out. They're teaching every single day. Like you say, in the trenches. For years now. It's not a thing where every so often they do a camp or a seminar, which with that's good too. But like every single day, they're working their butts off, keeping a school going. So big shout out to them and all the other schools who are every single day teaching the art.
So 3 schools in Connecticut teaching modern, not more?
I'm sure there's
probably more. I should say 3 programs.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably more. In my area, that's the only one that comes to mind that has like actually their own program.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to check things out and
I'm sure
we find out, because we definitely want to find the family members. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to do our wrap up, and we'll talk to you on the post show. Perfect. This is like Talking Dead, but different.
There you go.
Talking Arnis. Okay. So once again, had a great time this weekend. It was a bittersweet thing. The art survived 20 years after Professor. Mm-hmm. But it's 20 years without the Professor, and even though I put that video together, it breaks me up every time I put it on.
Absolutely. Well, we strengthened, what we're doing. We strengthened some relationships. Even this was another example, I think. So, keep that momentum going.
Yeah. So on that note, I want to add one more time with our memorial and then our outro. So right now I'm going to say goodbye for Dr. Tim and
PG Tye.
All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Lauren Therian is going to be on, and we're taking next Monday off because of the Labor Day weekend. Thanks for tuning in.